What you know about the filibuster? Oh, you so smart. Ha! I think I found the right position for the microphone. Happy Marine Corps birthday today, 246, somewhere around there. Well, it's fascinating because the Marine Corps was established a year before the actual birth of the nation, which is unbelievable. They've been fighting for this nation this whole time. For my friends and family that are part of the Marine Corps, we salute you. It's your day. Enjoy it. Tomorrow's all of our days as vets, so enjoy that too. Hey, so what the heck is a filibuster, and why is the ruling class trying to get rid of it? There's been a de-education movement in this country, and we got to learn how to combat this and figure it out and how to do it. George Washington said that the primary objective, I'm paraphrasing a little bit, but the primary objective should be educating the youth on the science of government. And it's not just about the youth anymore now. We have to educate everybody about it, because we have to take the propaganda and the indoctrination that is being pumped through the disgusting, cancerous media and the federal government power-grabbing creeps in Washington right now, and we have to learn how to combat that. So you're going to start seeing all kind of propaganda and indoctrination and conditioning of the American people's minds right now, because now they just spent another $1.8 trillion. Added to their total so far, it's like $4 trillion just in 9 months, which is disgusting, and it's unbelievable. And they're normalizing the term trillion now. So you're going to see some propaganda coming out for the need of getting rid of that racist filibuster, or that filibuster is out of control and it's old and we don't need it anymore. And you're going to see all that conditioning happening so that the American people are just like, yeah, you know what? Let's get rid of the filibuster. Well, the problem is the filibuster in itself is a very important tool in government. So the filibuster is very important, and the easiest thing, you could do all kind of research. You have encyclopedia at a click now with Google or Bing or whatever you use. But I like to use the trusted institutions of our government before, who knows, maybe there's bad actors who'll come in and change that stuff. But typically when you use the Congressional Budget Office, the General Accountability Office, so some of those things are supposed to be nonpartisan, but they have facts and statistics and historical representations of the government, and they're pretty accurate about that. So I went to the Senate.gov. I knew what a filibuster was. And you go in about a filibuster and cloture. Cloture is the same thing. Cloture is also a term of closure, really. And all it is just getting a vote to end the debate or whatever. So you do a Google search about a filibuster, and it's saying it's prevalent. It was established in 1800, and that's a bold-faced lie. So the filibuster has been, the term of the filibuster, yes, was popularized and maintained over in the 1800s, the late 1800s, and that's when they took the term filibuster from a Dutch word freebooter, or a Spanish filibusteros, to describe the pirates of raiding Caribbean islands. The term began appearing in American legislative debates in the 1850s. But the act of talking a bill to death, which is a filibuster, happened in the first Congress that we had, meaning the first Senate right after the independence of America. But whether praised as the protector of political minorities from the tyranny of the majority or attacked as a tool of partisan obstruction, the right of unlimited debate in the Senate, including the filibuster, has been a key component of the Senate's unique role in American political systems. And that's from the Senate's website there. So September 22nd, 1789, William Maclay wrote in his diary that the design of the Virginians was to talk away with the time so that we could not get the bill passed. Well, that was the first reference of the actual filibuster. So a simple, dumbed-down version of what a filibuster is, you have to look at what a bill is. And remember the Constitution, whatever that old cartoon we used to have when we were kids, what the heck was it? Schoolhouse Rock. And what they taught us about a bill, like this.
Steps to get to this Capitol building here in Washington. Well, I wonder who that sad little scrap of paper is.
I'm just a bill. Yes, I'm only a bill. And I'm sitting here on
Capitol Hill.
Well, it's a long...
So old Schoolhouse Rock was great because it was before propaganda took over, where Big Bird is telling people to get COVID-19 vaccines. They actually had an unbiased view on teaching us what needed to be done. So a bill, in order for it to be passed as law, has to go through both houses of Congress there. So that's the Senate and the Congress. So the Congress, the House of Representatives, is controlled. Well, actually, all three branches are controlled by the Democrats right now, and that's why we are on a quick rocket ship down to the deep, dark depths of hell. What happens is when a bill comes up, they say, "Oh, yeah, here's a bill. Here's a good idea." So the House is like, "Oh yeah, we have the smallest majority. We have the minute majority controls the smallest little majority, but you can still get bills pushed through quickly." And that's how the Congress works. They push bills that are astronomically large, like this last one that they just signed 2 weeks ago, the infrastructure bill, had 2,700 pages. But they signed that bad boy real quick, and they pushed it off to the Senate. And then the Senate Republicans that were spineless said, "You know what? We're not going to be reelected anyways. Let's just push this radical agenda through." So they pushed it on through. So now the bill passes the House, goes to the Senate, and turns into law and finishes where it ends. So the filibuster is an important tool for stopping that. So the filibuster, in order to stop anything, a bill needs 60 votes out of that 100 to actually pass. And that's a pretty hard thing to do because, well, look at now with the minute majority, they have 50. It's a 50-50 split in the Senate. And Kamala Harris herself, she is that 51 vote. So they can tyrannically push a divided Congress and an agenda. They could push it through without the will of the people right now because they have that one extra vote. But then putting a filibuster in will stop that, and they have to get 60 votes. So now they have to convince 9 people on the other side. The unfortunate, there's a bunch of rhinos, Republican in name only, and they're out, again, self-interest for themselves as well. And they can do that, but it's significantly, historically, it's hard to do because either party never controls 60 Senate seats. So the good thing is, and the takeaway about the filibuster, it is a very important thing because the filibuster guarantees the minority party gets a voice in Congress. And it's not just because I'm saying, "Oh yeah, the Republicans are the minority, we need to keep the filibuster." I could care less about both of those parties. I think in the sense of government, we need to continue that because the minority party still has to have a voice because this is a constitutional republic, not a democracy. And Berrio himself, back in 2005 as a senator, spoke against ending the filibuster, and this is what he said. Play audio soundbite number 1.
A change in the Senate rules that really, I think, would change the character of the Senate forever. And what I worry about would be that you essentially have still 2 chambers, the House and the Senate, but you have simply majoritarian absolute power on either side. And that's just not what the founders intended.
Yikes. Yeah, you're absolutely right there, Berrio. Berrio coming again for the win. 2005 Berrio, though, because I'm going to show you the double standard and the hypocrisy from the left. So you're going to see a lot from the left, and they have been peddling the same narrative for the past 9 months here, that the filibuster has racist tendencies, and it's Jim Crow 2.0 and all this crap that the same schmucks have been pushing to keep the filibuster. So they're trying to push because Marxism works and it's class warfare. And if you can divide a nation based on gender, race, socioeconomic status, it's like I say time and time again, it's a lot easier to create a movement based on emotion than it is on intellect. And that's exactly what they're doing. And you may say, "Oh, Nino, you're just nuts. Why are you saying this now?" You already see the train happening. So the Walking Dead in this picture, you have Dianne Feinstein, who literally is on she's probably on oxygen right now. And I'm not making fun of her because of her age, because she's seriously declining in health. But she's a radical. But she's another corrupt Democrat from California. But look who's right behind her, Bernie Sanders. the guy who's actually trashing the country right now because he's running the show behind the scenes because he got the election stolen from him twice, and now he's behind it all. So right now he's like at Weekend at Bernie's getting Dianne Feinstein to move around, but she signals a couple months back that she's open to abandoning the Senate filibuster for voting rights. Now the voting rights, that sounds really good. It's another buzzword. It's another crafty technique that these politicians are using for you to go along with their radical takeover, their agenda here. So the voting rights bill is so right now with the Constitution and the way that voting's set up, every state has its own sovereignty and they control their own state elections. Even at a federal level, they control it all. Now the problem is the federal government wants to get their grimy little fingers in everything we're doing. This is the largest expansion. This is the largest attack against the individual liberty of Americans in modern history and actually in the history of the United States. So they're trying to federally take over elections because they're trying to secure whatever happened in the 2020 election with all the changing of all the procedures because of COVID and all that stuff. They want to keep that in but make it at a federal level. So now if there is rampant corruption, rampant election fraud, they want to make sure that they can secure all these votes, because now with all those millions of illegals coming across the border and instant access to voting, without proof of ID, because that would be racist, they could get millions and millions of votes now and control the power structure that they have implemented. It's all about power, and it's not about preserving the Union or the Republic for which it stands. So Dianne Feinstein comes out and she says, we need to get rid of the filibuster. And then I immediately look back up because I remember years ago, Dianne Feinstein, her credibility was shot, and I don't understand how we still allowed her to be a senator, but she had a Chinese communist spy driving her limo around for 20 freaking years, reporting back to the Chinese Communist government. To give you a little backstory on the Intelligence Committee, too, is all the wonderful representatives from California. It has to be a common trend here that 3 for 3 of these California representatives that sit on our Intelligence Committee have all been compromised by either lying. So you have Dianne Feinstein, a spy for 20 years, credibility out the door, still sitting there. Then you have Adam Schiff, this guy, commonly referred to as Pencil Neck. Yeah, as you could tell why. Well, he peddled the whole Russiagate and the urination tapes that was brought by the Clinton campaign, which was provided by some Steele guy who was they called it the Steele dossier, that just so happened to be proved incorrect completely, but he was on the Intelligence Committee pushing for impeachment due to that false document that he sold to the American people. And the same guy, also who was leading it too, his buddy Eric Swalwell, that schmuck, he gets compromised by the Chinese Communist Party as well with his girlfriend called Fang Fang. So these people that sit on this committee or anywhere that are surfacing now to say, hey, we should get rid of the filibuster, I think it's a giant red flag that, one, we shouldn't get rid of it, and two, these people need to be ousted completely. What are we doing here? Wake up. The narrative switches, and what I say on the show all the time is, oh, you got to challenge the narrative. So that's what I did. I look into it. I'm like, oh, okay, well, maybe the filibuster does have a racist past. So I go back to old reliable senate.gov, and I start looking into the filibuster history, some historical facts about it. And I saw this come out. The record for the longest individual speech goes to South Carolina's Strom Thurmond, who filibustered for 24 hours and 18 minutes against the Civil Rights Act of 1957. So I said, oh, man, who is Strom Thurmond? And he has to be a racist Republican. So I do a little Senate.gov search on Strom Thurmond, and I figured out he's a staunch Dixiecrat, a Democratic Party operative. Oh, man, maybe the narrative switched a little bit, and the Republicans are still being the racist ones, not the Democrats. It is the Democrats. And I look up a Civil Rights Act in 1964, and then at 9:51 in the morning of June 10th, 1964, Senator Robert C. Byrd completed an address that he had begun 14 hours and 13 minutes earlier, and that subject was a filibuster against the Civil Rights Act of 1964. Now, who the heck is Robert C. Byrd? And Robert Byrd was he was one of those KKK members, and I said, oh, my goodness, he was a big leader in the KKK. He must be a racist Republican. So I did my due diligence, and I said, who the heck is Robert Byrd? And I looked, staunch Democrat. Now, that's for production purposes. He is a Democrat. I already knew that because the left championed him since the beginning. And our president right now actually says that Robert Byrd was one of his greatest mentors, a good friend of his.
For a lot of us, he was a friend, and he was a mentor, and he was a guide.
So you look at there was a racist element to the filibuster, but that was perpetrated by the same people who are trying to get rid of it now, but used it as their techniques to stop actual civil rights. And that is the Democratic Party, but no one wants you to know that because there's so much information coming around that no one wants you to think analytically or objectively. John Lewis, a prominent black member of Congress, dies, and they have a big virtue signaling funeral for him, but they publicize it because they have to push propaganda. They're never letting a good crisis go to waste, so they have a good person who died. they need to exploit that. And so who's the best exploiter in chief to send in is Barry O himself. So Barry O comes in is race baiting at this funeral, and he says this about the need to end the filibuster now. So the double standard is on display. Play audio soundbite number 2.
And if all this takes eliminating the filibuster, another Jim Crow relic,
Oh,
in order to
that's right.
secure the God-given rights of every American, then that's what we should do.
The double standard on the left, the rampant indoctrination and propagandizing the American people is very, very dangerous right now. Oh, well, for those of you that have made it to the end, we went over a lot. We understood what a filibuster was. We brought back some nice nostalgia with Schoolhouse Rock. And then we showed a bunch of sound bites and told everyone about the double standard, the indoctrination and propaganda coming out from the left. I have many more examples of this. I have tons of sound bites I could show you, but we got to end this episode. So thanks so much for being a part of the Nino G Show. Just remember this: always stand up for liberty. Don't be afraid to challenge that dang narrative. Until the next time, thanks for being a part of the Nino G Show's 111 subscribers.